Battlefield is back, baby. They've listened to the fans, they're returning to form, and I'm getting some serious Battlefield 3 and 4 vibes from the Battlefield 6 leaks. At least, that's what the comments and the YouTubers are saying. And that's how you know DICE's marketing is working incredibly well. DICE knew they'd have to do something completely different after two hugely disappointing Battlefield launches in a row. The fans were against them, casual players were skeptical, and they needed a massive comeback. The teaser video, Battlefield Labs, the leaks, all of this has been laid out perfectly and completely planned to a T. They're playing us, and it's working. But it can't fully cover up some glaring red flags that could spell out doom for this latest entry. I'm Captain Peach, welcome back to the pit, and here's why Battlefield 6's marketing is working a little too well.
If you having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son.
If you're watching this video, I'm sure you know that the last two Battlefield games weren't exactly received very well. They both had incredibly terrible marketing campaigns that alienated fans and seriously harmed sales. Battlefield 5 turned what was actually a pretty solid game into a disastrous launch through one of the worst reveal trailers in history,
Trev 5 or Noah,
and then followed it up with attacking fans that didn't like the marketing and the direction. And Battlefield 2042 promised a game that they weren't even planning to deliver. And even though they fixed a lot of issues and spent lots of time improving both games, they still left a bad impression in players' minds. What's the deal with Battlefield 6? And both games were very far from what they could have been. They lost the trust of their hardcore players, and that is very hard to get back. Well, actually, no, because people tend to have a very short memory. But failure after failure does slowly erode faith in a brand over time, and makes it harder and harder to come back from. And Battlefield, DICE, and EA have slowly been eroding their brands quite a bit over the last while, which is where Battlefield 6 comes in, or just Battlefield, or whatever they're gonna call it. Because of that brand erosion and breaking the trust with fans 2 games in a row, 3 if you count the launch of Battlefront 2, DICE and EA would need to do something very different. They'd need to prove to the fans that they actually do care, and that Battlefield can still be a great game. And this brings me to their first marketing tactic that's been overtly expressed not only in the Battlefield Labs trailer, but also in the entire design and approach of Battlefield 6, at least in what's been shown. That tactic is nostalgia. A yearning for a recreation of positive past memories, a desire to relive those treasured moments in our lives. Nostalgia is incredibly powerful when used effectively, but there are 2 serious problems with it. 1, for nostalgia to work, it has to live up to what we envision in our minds. If it doesn't, we'll have a stronger negative reaction. And 2, unfortunately, it's usually the last-ditch effort of a dying franchise. A brand that is going strong, innovating, and staying at the cutting edge of the industry doesn't need to constantly remind you how good it used to be. And so far, Battlefield 6 is doing everything it can to remind you how good the series once was. From all of the developers in the Battlefield Labs teaser talking about how they're going back to the basics, getting to the core of what makes Battlefield great, and listening to the fans, to playing the Battlefield 3 main theme during the gameplay footage, they're positioning BF6 as a spiritual successor to BF3. And this goes into the design of the game as well. The maps shown off in the teaser and in the leaks are incredibly reminiscent of Battlefield 3's maps. The look of the soldiers, the guns, the vehicles. Yes, it's some standard modern combat equipment, but it's also going for a very specific vibe. And that goes down into the gameplay, keeping it as similar as possible so people will feel right at home, but adding just enough to make it feel slightly newer. And hey, I get it, Battlefield 3 and 4 were incredible games and some of the glory days of the franchise. But just recognize that this design is fully intentional to elicit nostalgia, and help cloud critical thought by going back to the classics. It's a heck of a lot easier to ignore red flags when you've got rose-tinted glasses on. Now, the second major marketing tactic is the supposed leaks.
Where's the leak, ma'am?
First off, let's get one thing right out of the way. These leaks were completely intentional and fully planned. This was done through a couple of key ways. The first thing they did was release the Battlefield Labs video. This not only allowed anyone and everyone to apply to be a part of the gameplay testing, but also primed gamers to be aware that this testing was taking place. People knew Labs was happening and would be on the lookout for any information. The other key factor is that previous games in the franchise used pro players and content creators to playtest and offer feedback on the game much earlier than anyone else, and even before the traditional reveal trailers were released. These creators wouldn't risk their reputation and access with EA and DICE by breaking their NDAs and leaking information. If they did that, they wouldn't get invited next time. But for Battlefield 6, they opened it up to everybody, meaning the chance for leaks would grow exponentially higher. As a random person on Reddit might not give a crap if they don't have the chance to participate in these things again, and suing them would be challenging and probably wouldn't be worth the effort anyway. There is no shot they didn't expect this. And I think the ultimate proof of this is they let the leaks stay up on YouTube and social media for weeks. Heck, you can still watch gameplay from Battlefield Labs right now if you want to. They don't seem like they're in that much of a rush to clamp down on these videos and posts.
It's hot. We'll do it tomorrow.
Which is really pretty genius. Allow the leaks to remain up for enough time that anybody can watch, dissect, and tell their friends about it. Then take it down after this word of mouth has spread sufficiently to give people a heightened sense of status. That they got to see early gameplay that they weren't supposed to. You get the whole internet talking about it, sharing info and details, and you're priming them again for when you release the official marketing showing off some of the more advanced maps, features, and surprises you have in store. This capitalizes on a few psychological processes we all have. When we're given a glimpse at a product and then later we're given another glimpse that looks even better, and then maybe a third look that's better than that, our brains expect that trend to continue, which is what keeps the momentum going for building hype, leading into a high-selling launch. Right now, through the leaks, they're showing us fairly standard gameplay that looks fun, with future leaks most likely building on this and discussing / showing off new features and modes, like the leak of a free-to-play battle royale, for example. And then when the official trailer releases, we can see the game at its best, with optimized lighting, graphics, sound, and new maps and mechanics. And future trailers will keep building on this, priming the viewer to expect the full release to continue that upward trend. Marketing through these leaks also allows the fans to get more buy-in for the game. These leaks cause players to go down rabbit holes and research what they can find on the game, sinking more and more of their time into either watching YouTubers discussing each and every new leak or taking the time to track them down themselves. The more somebody gets involved in a game, the harder it gets to separate from the game, as our brain is associating all of the work we're putting in as investment. And the more you're invested in something, the more you don't want to be wrong. Meaning any red flags that appear will be easier to throw away. But Peach, slow down, we don't even have the trailer yet. Exactly. They haven't even released the official trailer, and yet the whole internet is talking about it. And every Battlefield YouTuber and their mother is making multiple videos a week on it.
Like who?
Farmers?
Who else?
Farmers' mums.
People are getting hyped and invested before we've even gotten a trailer. And if the trailer one-ups everything we've already seen and heard, and I guarantee it will to a certain extent, as I'm sure they've planned this all out, then people will get even more excited and will be primed to buy the game on launch, ignore the track record of past launches that have been severely disappointing, and maximize EA's sales. And hey, I get it, I want a great new Battlefield that plays in the vein of 3 and 4 as well. I'm getting a little hyped about the possibilities myself, but it's important to recognize that there are some red flags and issues that means the marketing isn't all it's cracked up to be. And the purpose of all of this marketing is to secure sales. The first potential red flag is that Battlefield Labs is essentially using the beta technique of showing early gameplay. You give a slice of what is most likely some of their best content and their most polished experience, and assuring people that the launch will be even better and fully fixed by then. This is a slice of what's to come, and it only gets better from here, similar to what I was saying earlier. But again, this is most likely some of their most impressive and polished content. They'll still probably show off something a little better later on, especially for when they release a public beta, but they're not going to show off the worst and most basic things they've created. Battlefield 4 picked Siege of Shanghai for their beta for a reason. The map and the tower dropping were impressive. BF1 picked Sinai Desert, sandstorms, horses, the train, and what I would argue is their best launch map. It looked great and played incredibly well. Even 2042 picked Orbital, the tornado, and the rocket launch. Again, the more impressive map, especially if you compare it to the other launch maps.
Take my gun.
And for all of those betas, was it really that much more fixed and polished at release? With 2042, they assured us that the beta was a month's old build and everything will be fixed at launch, which it wasn't. But they do have more time from now for BF6 than they do from a traditional public beta to fix bugs and issues, so we'll have to see. But please keep this information in mind, especially when we play BF6's beta. But speaking of Battlefield 2042, as I mentioned in my reveal trailer analysis for that game, right now they're using the same language and a lot of the same methods of marketing that 2042 did. I won't reiterate everything I said because you can just go watch that video, which I'll link at the end. But for 2042, they focused on how many studios and people were working on the game, how they're way ahead of schedule, how they're listening to the fans, they utilized nostalgia and fan favorite moments, and how they're pushing the franchise forward while sticking to the core of what makes Battlefield great. All of the exact same things they're doing and saying now with this current game. They've been here before, and they disappointed. It doesn't mean they'll disappoint in the future, but the track record isn't great. But that brings me to the next potential red flag. Most of the developers that made Battlefield what it is, including the games they're trying to emulate, are gone. Leadership is completely different. Senior staff is completely different. And what we're left with isn't the people that created those memorable moments from our favorite games, but the people that created 2042.
That was something, right? I'm gonna kill myself!
Minus even more senior DICE developers. In fact, 98% of the developers that made those fan favorite Battlefield games have left. And yes, famed creator of Call of Duty, Titanfall, and Apex Legends, Vince Zampella is in charge of the franchise right now, which he knows how to make a popular shooter, at least at launch. so I'm pretty confident he won't let it release completely broken or missing a scoreboard, as a random example. But what's slightly alarming is a series of posts by an ex-DICE developer, Risible, that talks about EA's latest shift in strategy. And a lot of what he says has been corroborated by news articles and tweets by other ex-developers, including current developer David Sirlin, who was the producer on Battlefield 4 and is now in charge of DICE, agreeing with much of what Risible was saying. Naturally, I can't 100% confirm everything he discusses, but the fact that other developers also agree with a lot of what he says means it doesn't look that good for traditional fans of Battlefield. As a very sad side note before I get into this, Risible also detailed how the DICE team pitched a Bad Company 3 game to EA, which got shot down in favor of Battlefield 5. Yikes! Essentially, and this is crazy, EA wants Call of Duty money.
Oh no, I'm losing this battle, man. I'm failing, I'm through. Wait, oh yeah, I have 70 million more players than you.
So much so that they even hired the general manager of Call of Duty, Byron Bede, to be the Battlefield general manager. Byron oversaw the primary live service aspects of the COD franchise, including the entire Warzone experience, and he also oversaw much of the creation of Destiny's live service model. EA wants to replicate these. Their current roadmap and plan is to create a new full-priced Battlefield every year, have seasons and a battle pass, a pro subscription service like the Rainbow Six Siege Pass, and have a free-to-play Battle Royale mode just like Warzone. The Battle Royale and pro subscription have been corroborated by recent data mines from Battlefield Labs, and you can already see the implementation of seasons and regular battle passes in 2042. So it's not much of a stretch to see them wanting to pump out yearly releases, especially considering they've set up 4 separate studios all working on Battlefield content. And all of this will have an emphasis on crazy and wacky cosmetics, similar to what Call of Duty has been doing the last several years. This is also corroborated in an EA earnings call when the CEO Andrew Wilson said the next Battlefield is going to be another tremendous live service. We live in the modern gaming era. The days of season passes and map packs are long gone, and shockaroo, games are a business.
You can't keep getting away with it!
DICE isn't going to be producing new content for Battlefield 6 out of the kindness of their hearts. It has to be funded in some way. And the number one most profitable way to do that with limited player backlash is through selling skins and camos. I've seen a lot of comments talk about how great it is that we'll get to play as traditional soldiers again. No more of the goofy skins and outfits that are in every other shooter these days. And we can get back to immersive and realistic atmospheres. That will 100% not last. They want those big bucks.
You, my little cowboy friend, are gonna make me big bucks.
And we want a steady stream of free, updated content. The Battle Pass is here to stay until somebody comes up with a better moneymaker. And unlocking a slightly different shade of brown for your character at Premium Tier 100 isn't going to bring in the dollars for new maps. I fully believe the plan this ex-dev outlined is correct. My prediction is that this will go the same way that Modern Warfare 2019 did. The devs will promise that on launch, all of the cosmetics for Battlefield 6 will be realistic, gritty, immersive, and will fit the theme. But slowly over time, DICE will continue to push the boundaries of what players are okay with. If y'all remember, this same situation happened with 2042 when a Santa skin for the Boris operator got leaked. DICE was testing what players would be okay with. And while at the time there was some pushback, 2042 has continued pushing the skins more with things like cowboy hats and dinosaur helmets and Rambo and Dead Space skins. Not quite Ninja Turtles and Nicki Minaj, but it does show that they will go as far as they can get away with. And the same thing will happen at Battlefield 6. So anybody thinking it won't, it's going to.
Okay. I think it's time that we all start to just consider the other possibility.
At least in some degree. And this is what Risible was saying, is their goal is to slowly push as much as possible to avoid backlash, but still make money. And here's the final major issue with Battlefield 6 and the whole franchise lately. So far, it's looking like DICE is chasing trends instead of making them. Back in the early Battlefields, and even the more recent ones like BF4, 1, and 5 to an extent, have had an emphasis on pushing the bar and staying at the cutting edge of the industry. The audio, the graphics, the destruction, the mechanics, full-scale warfare, the Battlefields kept innovating and pushing the industry forward. They set the standard. Now, I would argue since the release of Modern Warfare 2019, they simply have been trying to catch up to the standard that other franchises are setting. Oh boy, a free-to-play Battle Royale! That would have been revolutionary 5 years ago. Hey, going back to a Modern Warfare setting. Haven't seen that recently. Yowza, you can drag soldiers behind cover? Sounds exactly like the feature that was originally in Battlefield 5, but then got cut last minute. It looks like they're playing things safe. And of course, obviously, we haven't seen what Battlefield 6 will fully offer. I really hope they can knock it out of the park and bring the series back to the forefront of the industry. And I don't want want to dogpile on the game, I really hope it turns out awesome and super fun. But in chasing trends, Battlefield 6 risks losing the very identity that made the franchise iconic. A yearly release cycle puts quantity over quality, leaving less room for innovation, polish, and meaningful content. Instead of focusing on its core strengths, massive sandbox warfare, team play, and gritty immersion, Battlefield seems more interested in mimicking what made Fortnite and the latest Call of Duties popular. The introduction of wacky, immersion-breaking cosmetics doesn't just clash with the franchise's tone, it cheapens it. If Battlefield wants to reclaim its former glory, it needs to stop trying to be everyone else and start being Battlefield again while pushing the industry forward. And I really hope that's what they're attempting to do and have lots of awesome things in store for us. But so far, they're using the marketing tactics of a desperate franchise. The leaks show off a game that looks fun but nothing mind-blowing, and a supposed ex-developer laid out EA's plan that seems completely accurate that will erode the Battlefield franchise over time into yet another franchise that copies trends instead of setting them. And either way, they have a long way to go to earn back fans' trust. But as I mentioned, everybody's talking about it, getting excited about it, and we don't even have a trailer yet. So then again, maybe they won't have that long to go to get another high-selling launch. But hey, that's marketing. If you like the video, slap the subscribe and the like buttons. And if you want to watch how the reveal trailer for Battlefield 2042 broke the fan base, or how marketing built and destroyed another one of EA's franchises, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare, click on one of the videos on screen. And until next time, stay peachy.